Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Recruit Military Live, a continuing series of live broadcasts covering all things military transition, veteran employment, mil-spouse employment, and much, much more. My name is Lucas Connolly, a retired U.S. Army officer and former TAP program manager, here to share with you the ins and outs of navigating the turbulent waters of transitioning to civilian employment. If you are in search of meaningful employment while you're in the right place, please visit us at rmvets.com/live to learn more. Okay, let's roll. Have you heard the phrase, your network is your net worth? Has someone told you that LinkedIn is a great place to grow your network? Have you heard perhaps that posting original content is a great way for you to gain traction, grow your network, and build your brand? Well, today's topic is going to address those things. The title for today's show, Crafting Compelling Content, how you can create original content on your LinkedIn page to help you build your brand and grow your network. Our guests today are going to take some of the mystery out of this, when and how to post original content so that you can market yourself to the post-military world of employment. We have a lot of material to go over, so I encourage you to stay on board for the whole show. And I personally guarantee that if you're not careful, you just might learn something. We're joined today by two very special guests. Our first is coming to us live from historic Richmond, Virginia. He's had a distinguished career in the U.S. Army, culminating as a regimental sergeant major and sergeant major of the Office of the Chief of Army Public Affairs. Since retiring, he's filled his time hosting his own radio show 5 nights a week on eagleradio.com. He has become a certified digital networking coach, helping people learn how to leverage digital social media for professional success, and he's even started his own consulting company. Our second guest is coming to us live from the misty swamps of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He started his career as a young Marine and went on to a distinguished career in the U.S. Army Human Resources, culminating as Director of Human Capital Management for U.S. Army Forces Command. Since retiring from the Army in 2018, he's been working closely with transitioning service members to advise and coach them through transitions from military service to civilian employment. He continues to do that today, both in his spare time and in his role at the Project Management Institute. That's right, folks. Two retired sergeants major for the price of one. Ladies and gentlemen, Jose Velasquez and Matt Quick.
Woo! Hey, Jose, what's going on, man?
What an intro.
I'll tell you
amazing.
Lucas, you were an officer? You don't seem like an officer.
As a compliment. Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
And the both of you, I would say, have a face for radio. So
I appreciate it.
And a voice for print.
All right. All right, folks. And now that you know who we are, let's hear who you are. Hit us up in that chat window, all you viewers out there. Let us know who you're with, where you're from, how you've served. Are you serving right now? Are you in transition? Are you a National Guardsman or reservist? What's your status? We'd love to hear from you. And if you've got questions, comments, issues, or concerns, feel free to jump in there, and time allowing, we will address them.
Don't be shy.
Yeah,
please.
Throw it in there.
The show's always better when we have audience participation. So with all this digital professional networking, LinkedIn stuff, this was kind of introduced to me probably 6 months prior to when I got out, which in retrospect, was probably too late to be incredibly effective. Can you guys tell me how you got started? I mean, when was the first time somebody said to you, hey, you need to be networking, and what did that feel like? Matt, let's go with you first.
First of all, Lucas, that was during my transition. I was retiring, and my mentor said, hey, link up with Mike Quinn, take this course. I'm like, cool, I'll take the course. I've been on social media for years, I said, and I've had a LinkedIn account for years too. I never used LinkedIn. I had an account, but I didn't use it. But I was on other social media platforms. That helped me out. So jumping into and learning LinkedIn, truly learning how it worked, how to grow a network, that was really effective for me to really scale what I wanted to do. And that was to help more people in the transition space. So for me, just getting out there, growing a network, speaking about my experiences truly made a difference in me, Lucas.
All right, and Jose, you've been steeped in media your entire career. How was that transition to now representing yourself instead of representing the Army?
Lucas, thank you so much, man. It's great to be here with you and Matt again. Man, what a gift. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hey, I'm excited to hear from people, where they're from. Hopefully they'll jump on the chat and share that with us. But listen, I spent 28 years in media. First as a broadcaster for AFN overseas. If you remember those terrible overseas commercials, that's my
Awful.
fault.
They were great.
But I loved it. I loved it so much. And of course, as you move up the ranks, you become a public affairs professional, which I ultimately ended up being, and loved every part of it. But in transition, I shied away from it, and it wasn't until I think Matt said 2019. I came in a year later, and between him and Mike Quinn, I really picked up the idea that I should go back to a LinkedIn account that was dormant, that somebody at some point told me to copy my resume into. I didn't know why. I really didn't know what purpose it had, but I threw my resume on there years earlier. And it wasn't until I interacted with these guys that I really started understanding and, appreciating the gift that was LinkedIn. I mean, it was a platform that allowed me the chance to engage with people I never meet. And of course, 2020, COVID, we were all sitting in the house trying to figure out how to network. There were no networking events in person. And this not only gave us a chance to meet local people, it gave us a chance to meet people all over the world. I would have never met Matt without this, And so I really used that as my foundation to begin to develop meaningful relationships. And that's what I did.
Awesome. Now, when I coach folks about growing their network, about leveraging LinkedIn as a platform, I tell them, you just got to get out there and be active. You got to take a step forward, just post something, post anything. And I oftentimes get, I don't know what to post. So thus the idea for this show. And I reached out and I found about 5 pieces of advice that I'd like to run through here. And the first one that came down, and just for the sake of the audience, when we talk about original content, right, the strong recommendation is you post something original, not just click, like, share, repost somebody else's stuff, but create something. And that will really accelerate your exposure. It'll help people to understand who you are, to grow your brand and to facilitate your network. And then hopefully all things go right, help you find a great career. So the first one that I found was video content. Matt, what are your thoughts?
So I don't really do a lot of video content, Lucas, but I've been doing it recently, and I don't have time to add the captions and do all the stuff. But I've been using TikTok now. Using TikTok just for the video platform itself adds all these great features on there. Try it out. Get on. I'm not advocating for TikTok, but it's a great platform for social media. Download the video and post that. Use a TikTok video for LinkedIn, but really share a quick snippet about what you're going through in transition. Share some experiences. It could be that simple. Listen, we're all an expert in something, and we're all servant leaders or in leadership positions, or we had soldiers or anybody. We had people that work with us. Share a story, how you overcome something. Just share something. And I'm not saying post every day. Twice a week. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Jose?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Matt completely. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not as cool as Matt, but I do.
Very few people are.
Yeah, very few people are in the world. And so I do share on LinkedIn. One of the great things is LinkedIn has finally come up with the idea of adding auto captions. They're not perfect, and you can go in and edit them if some of the words are incorrect. It doesn't take very long, but it really is all about just sharing a story. Now, I fully comprehend many of us are uncomfortable. Me, I was a ham, I was a broadcaster. So for me, video wasn't uncomfortable, but I recognize it really can be very uncomfortable for some people. But I'll tell you what, just telling a short story, you don't have to do some edited video. As a matter of fact, edited videos don't do incredibly well. What does incredibly well is someone just looking at their camera and sharing a little piece of expertise. It can be 30 seconds, it can be a minute, It shouldn't be very long, by the way. I don't want to hear like a 10-minute summary of your life.
Don't
Just
drone on.
just share a thought, And one of the great things is you can pull out your cell phone and do it right on the spot, when you're thinking about something. Share that right from your cell phone. That demonstrates authenticity, genuineness. And, on the other side where I'm viewing your content, I'm really interested because it's you being you.
And
authenticity.
And the vulnerability invites people in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know who's really good at that? Alfredo Torres. Mr. Paisley.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
I went to the Military Influencers Conference, not last year, but the year before. And we sat at the the dining. It was the gala event, and he busted out his phone and did a 60-second video and posted it, all without getting out of his chair, and all while smoking a cigar, I might add. And
algorithms be damned, right? That's right.
Yep.
That's simple, and it gained traction. I think anybody on LinkedIn, at least in our circles, knows Alfredo.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Okay, so let's talk about tags. How important is it to tag people? If we're counting them down, the first one was number 5. This would be number 4. And the piece of advice that I was given was tag people and encourage them to share your content. What do you think, Matt?
Okay, when I first started on LinkedIn, I saw people tag so many people. So I said, well, that's how you do it, right? But I learned that I don't want to tag people. We have conversations, and nowadays people can ring your bell to see your content, but I'll tag about 5 people that are relevant to the content that I post. I don't just willy-nilly mass tag people for the likes or the reactions, because based on LinkedIn's algorithms, those that don't engage, that are tagged in a post, it reduces the visibility of your posts to your network. So don't do that. Tag at most 5 people. And I listened to Richard Vanderblom's advice on how LinkedIn works. Use that, but tag 5 people. I tag, like Jose had a post today about this show. He tagged me and Lucas. Great stuff. Through the post, not at the end, not at the beginning, but through the post. A casual conversation, and that's how it is. Make it look like it belongs there.
Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And speaking of tagging, what's up, Jacob? Let's see, Jeremy W. Riggs, MBA. How cool is that? Chris Whitney is in Washington, D.C., and some of you guys are in Jacksonville and whatever, Atlanta. Ooh, Atlanta's kind of cool, Hotlanta. I love that place. But look, tagging people and Matt mentioned the perfect thought process when you're tagging. Don't tag like it's Instagram. Tag like it's part of your conversation. And when you tag people that you're engaging with in real life. So for example, if I'm having a conversation with Matt and it makes sense that I just want to share part of that conversation because it struck me, it made sense to me, I learned something from Matt, which is all the time, then I would share a post about that conversation and I would just tag Matt. Not for any particular purpose, but in conversation. Hey, I was talking to Matt today. Put the @ symbol, the tag symbol, put Matt's name, and say, hey, this is what I learned about him. Matt's sitting around. He's, checking LinkedIn. He gets that little notification. He clicks on it. Oh, Jose, Jose's talking about me. Let me see what he's talking about. Oh, yeah, I remember that conversation. But if you tag Matt at the end of your conversation, it's just a tag. It has nothing to do with Matt. You're just hoping that Matt is going to comment on your post. The truth is, Matt and many of the other big-time LinkedIn influencers may just not see your tag. They get a lot of people that tag them. And the LinkedIn, algorithm is just not going to show them all the tags. They're going to show them the most important tags. And the system knows when you're having a conversational tag versus when you're just adding it at the end. So use those sparingly when they make sense and in conversation.
Okay. And Jose, you and I go back and forth on other content on LinkedIn, and I have probably a few dozen people that I consistently engage with. Those are the people I will always prioritize for comments and reactions because it's reciprocal. It's a mutually beneficial network. If people that tag me don't engage in my stuff, I'm not going to say I'm not going to engage, but it's less likely that I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's all about meaningful relationships. And if you're not building those and you don't have your own little tribe within the bigger tribe of LinkedIn, then you're missing out. It's that little group of people that are going to be meaningful to you and help you grow. It is reciprocal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about the software and it's not about the algorithm. It's about the relationships that you can build, and those tags can help to strengthen those. Awesome. And now, what about tagging organizations, groups, forums, high influence folks that are out there to help to, reach more people? I know that when you build your profile, you can add in a certain number of groups. I'm a member of the Army Transition Assistance Program, Military to Civilian Transitions Office, Veteran Mentorship Group, and probably a half a dozen other ones. Do you think tagging those helps? I mean, what's your experience there, Matt?
So personally, again, if it's relevant to the conversation or the area you're in, tag them. So I really recently tagged an organization or a high influencer, and they responded, and I was kind of surprised. But the content was about them and what they were offering and how I found that useful. So for me, tagging, like, let's say IVMF, Onward Opportunity, and when they respond to that, I'm like, okay, they see that, and we know we're sharing value, Jose. And that's what it comes down to. Whether you're recruit military, whether you're PMI, tagging that, and when they respond, that feels good, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I would say, it goes back to those relationships. So if in my case, I regularly tag the Leader Transition Institute, Recruit Military, matter of fact, PMI as well. And I get, responses from those organizations because I do have relationships with them. Again, relationships, it all matters. I do have relationships with those organizations, the people in them, including the guys on the screen right now. And so I know that when I tag them in relevant content and content that's meaningful to them, they're supportive of me, I'm supportive of them. There is that reciprocal discussion. And so that is incredibly important. So, don't tag Apple, because for the sake of tagging Apple. Don't tag Microsoft for the sake of tagging Microsoft. But I will tell you, like Matt said, you can tag a large organization. Surely I'm not saying don't, but make it part of the conversation where, sometimes it might just be a communications person that is, looking and sifting through all the comments that they get. If you provide value to that organization, they are much more likely to respond.
Jose, I did tag Apple a few months ago, and then I looked at who viewed my profile. Someone from Apple viewed my profile, so it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah. If it's either they're gonna, block you or they're gonna be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, other things that we can post about. One of the things that I love to do is I love to post resources. Now, I know that the target audience for me, I'm not seeking employment, love my job the way it is. So for me, my target audience is service members in transition, veterans seeking employment, male spouses seeking employment. That's my target audience. So I love to share resources, whether it be a video about how the best way to answer "Tell me about yourself" in an interview, or a veterans resource, or something posted by Leader Transition Institute. What kind of resources do you guys share, and what would you recommend? How would you recommend folks go about sharing resources over LinkedIn?
So one thing that I I find funny is when people get the information from others and then share that resource, and then I asked them, how did you find your experiences with that organization? Well, I hadn't gone through them yet. So you can share information, you can share resources, but for me personally, I like going through the resource first, finding out what it's all about, talking to some of the leadership maybe about it, and then sharing my personal experiences. That's what really connects with people, personal experiences. I can give you 10 resources, but if I haven't used them, is that really a valid experience I'm sharing, or I'm just echo chambering more resources? For instance, the Institute for Veterans Military Families Armed Opportunity, their program, I went through it 5 years ago. I went through their SHRM certification course. I went through that. And now I speak with the O2O programs around the nation and talk with transitioning veterans. I'm involved. I'm actually in there, so I share I share those resources because I personally went through it. Candorful, Hire Heroes USA, Recruit Military. I've been through it, or I spoke with the leadership and people in the programs. I can share lived and learned experiences. That's how I go about sharing resources.
And that's probably pretty smart because not everything out there that glitters is gold, and there's some shady dealings around the corners sometimes. So you may want to know a little bit of something about the organization that you're promoting or the resource you're promoting before you put your name next to it. Jose, what say you?
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this is gold. So I hope if you're listening, you're really paying attention to what Matt said. For me, my most important experience in transition was, as you guys know, I talk about it all the time, the Leader Transition Institute's changing focus, moving from we to me, because it helps people better understand, number one, who they are, and for those people who need it, who they are outside the uniform and what's going to make them happy. And the program gives them the tools to ask themselves that question. It can't answer it for you. Only you can answer those questions. But if you know them, you're far better off in your transition, especially finding that first job, which, by the way, is likely only going to last about a year. But if you
there are exceptions out there. There are exceptions.
There definitely are. There are people that are going to spend the next 20 years in that job. But in many cases, people are going to spend, less time. But if you know who you are and you know what you want to do and you love it, then you're probably going to last longer. But what I would say is, when I look at, the Leader Transition Institute, I can honestly talk about it because I've experienced it. When I talk about Recruit Military or PMI, there are courses that I haven't taken, but I trust the people who talk about them. There are programs that I went through in transition. As a matter of fact, that's how I began conversing online. It was because I went through something, holy moly, I had no idea. I just went through this particular thing. Let me tell you something. Insurance, I wish I had known Matt a year earlier, okay? Because I messed that one up, okay? But what I will tell you is, when I went through the experience, and in my case, it was a lifelong learned experience that I wish I had known about getting insurance earlier. Let me tell you, I wanted to share that with everybody because I didn't want anyone else to go through that. So I referenced the people that Matt had experienced and positive experience with and learned trust with, because I knew that if Matt was talking about them, those were the only occasions where I would trust that third party. So I just encourage you to talk about the organizations that you truly trust, and as Matt noted, that you've either experienced personally or that you trust someone, really trust someone who has experienced those programs.
That trust is key.
Yeah, Jose, I think, and that's a beautiful segue into the last point, the last piece of recommended original content, and that's informative and educational. Now, there's a lot of folks out there that say, I'm just insert personal identity. Who am I to be giving advice? Who am I to be passing on information? I believe it was Thomas Jefferson that once said, every man I've ever met was greater than me in some capacity. So give yourself a little bit of credit, no matter where you are in your military career, in your transition journey, in your civilian career, your next civilian career, your third civilian career. You've learned something. You know something, and there's somebody behind you in that life journey that could probably benefit from that. Matt, am I onto something here?
And they probably won't tell you about it. So the bigger your network is, the less people will actually engage with you, honestly. So we're in the military, and we have a captive audience as sergeants major, as lieutenant colonels. We have these audiences that are there. They have to be there. They have to hear us. They're not listening most of the time. I didn't. But they have to hear us when we speak. It's different when you're in social media. You have to look at your network, your audience. What do they want to hear about? For me personally, some of the things that I share and have the biggest traction on social media is my top 3 or top 5 mistakes. What lessons learned that I lived through that could better help you moving forward? For instance, I was doing project management in the military for 15 years before I learned what project management was. I thought I was pretty great at project and program management. Imagine if I was trained in that and the Army funds it. These are things we share on social media, whether on video, which could be a 30-second video or a shorter post, but just share that experience. Share you went through a course, share you went through a resume writing class, share a garbage resume you got from a resume writer. Just share something you got that could either help somebody or deter them from doing the same thing you went through. But really, start off by sharing your lessons learned. And I thought that, well, my God, we already have Mike Quinn as the person that would deal in our sphere, our community. So what value could I add? Well, I have different perspectives on that. So we're 2 different people, and we're all different people, and I see things in a different light than he does. So you're not echo chambering information, you're sharing experiences and putting your own spin on it. For me, it's mostly positive.
Yeah. Yeah. If I can add to that,
Sure.
look, I hope you're not a negative Nancy. And if you go through the experiences of transition and life after as a veteran, which are very valid, if everything you post is some negative experience, I don't want to hear about you. When you come through, I just see your name and I'm like, oh God, here they go again. Look for value and positive experience just as much as you look for negative experiences. And sure, they're valid. Don't get me wrong, but those positive experiences, you got to talk about those. Don't just post negative stuff. The other thing I would share with you is in posting, a lot of people who do ask, I don't have anything to provide. I'm just an HR person, or I'm just, whatever, right? Just a logistics person. What I have to say is, are you kidding me? You have so much to give. And listen, don't get me wrong. And I'm going to go back to Lucas's original note. And I lightly will push back about, you shared, commenting may not be as important. What I'll say is when people first start engaging, they may not be fully comfortable with a full post.
Yeah.
Commenting may be the way to get comfortable on the platform.
Break the seal.
They begin to create their own original content, because it is original content. I see Matt's post. I send, I respond in some kind to his post, hopefully in a positive way. I respond to his post, and, ultimately Matt may not see it, right? I'll post to people who are way up there, who I know are never going to see my post. But guess what? Some of the other people in that comment section may see my comment, may agree with it, and then may send me a connection request. And we may develop an incredible relationship based solely on me sharing my thoughts and comments in the comment section. Now, I know we're talking about, posting. Again, look, I spent 30 years in the Army, and Matt is perfectly right. As a sergeant major, people had to stand at parade rest for me. I stood in front of formations, and I knew that 99% of what I was talking about, other than stand at, parade rest, nobody was remembering, or thinking about. They're thinking about, hey, man, it's Spear 30, whatever the case might be. But what I will tell you is when you get online and you're ready to begin to share your story, share it, because your experiences truly are unique, and as Lucas shared about, that Thomas Jefferson quote, you really do have something that other people can benefit from. So share it.
And two more things, Lucas, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So I post on Friday about Finance Friday. Mm-hmm. And really, I'm providing a platform, a discussion point, but the real value comes in the comments when these professionals in the industry push back on what I say or push back on what I talk about, because I'm sharing my experiences and how I would have changed things differently. But even even project management, for instance. I get questions every day, Matt, how do I earn my PMP? I realize so many people have no idea where to begin. That's the expertise you can share. There's so much that people don't know about a day in a life or whatever it is you do every day. Share that. People just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? And I think that segues into what I was going to say is I think probably should have been we got a list of five things here. Could have been a list of 6. And so we'll give this one an honorable mention is that don't be afraid to share your personal story. Yeah. You know who does that really well, and if you've been following him over time, is Herb Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
And he's he's an open book as far as his experiences. And if you follow his content, sometimes he's a guy having a great day. Sometimes it's not so great, but it's genuine and it's him, and he's sharing his experience with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Herb is amazing.
That resonates quickly with people. Does for me.
Yeah, because he's genuine. He's true to himself, and he's just sharing, an experience he's having that day. And not all of us have a great day every day, and he's okay with being vulnerable and share. I mean, hello, Special Forces guy, and sharing his experience. We just assume Special Forces guys have great days every day. You know what I mean? There's a snake that eat it. So
they're all carved out of granite and bulletproof.
Absolutely. If I could just add one more thing, because Matt reminded me, Fridays are a great day. We call them Friday. And I share my personal experience with debt. And I'm like a broken record. Every Friday I talk about my experience with debt, or I reference Matt and his insurance story, because that is going to forever resonate with me. But I talk about consumer debt, and the experts jump in. Laurie Lancaster, who's a financial expert, many others jump in with their experience. And some people push back. They might say, "Oh, some debt is good debt," and I'm like, yeah. I'm not talking about that debt. I'm talking about consumer debt, credit cards, car loans, that kind of thing may not be the best choices. Of course, some people, most people have to have a car loan, especially these days, if you buy a new car. But do you need a new car? Those are questions that might be answered by people within the comment section. But it makes for a great discussion point. But I share my story on having major debt, but finding my way out of it. And I'll tell you, Matt Quick helped me get out of debt with his sharing his story, his experiences, and he wasn't as messed up as I was. So I learned from him. And those last 2 years, I did absolutely everything to get out of debt by learning from him. And I share that experience with everybody, because the freedom of not having debt is so powerful in transition that, it changes your entire worldview and your ability to make choices beyond the transition.
You can do what you want, not what you have to do.
Yeah. Matt, did you make him cut up his Best Buy card? Stop buying audio.
I wouldn't do that. Columbia House, BMG, the pennies at a time.
I'm saying a $2,000 microphone seems like a good idea, but not so much.
Oh, I can't pull
it. It's nice though.
All right, guys, let's throw some parting shots out there. If you could just give one piece of advice on how to start their journey posting original content, what would it be, Matt?
Really, just share an experience you're going through right now. Share maybe your soldiers that are going through something, an award, a re-enlistment. Share that. Share how you overcome something. Share a technique, something that you've been good at. Share something, and do it once a week. You may get to 3 days a week or 4 days a week. 1 day a week. Don't overdo it. Don't overstress about it. Share a personal experience. That's
Jose,
what it is.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Share regularly, because if you're not sharing regularly, you disappear into the ether. So share regularly. Give yourself a challenge to do it every Monday or every Wednesday. By the way, you can schedule posts these days. So if you're, waxing poetic on a Sunday, go ahead and share it or write it, and then hit the little schedule button and schedule it for Wednesday. If Wednesday is the day that, is best for you. So, you can do that. The other thing I would share in addition to that is, when you talk, this is important for more senior people. If you're a former retired sergeant major, if you're a retired lieutenant colonel, whatever the case might be, you're used to telling and not listening, not having interactive conversations. And social media is social. So as part of your conversation, I encourage people to, as they write, find a place where they can add a discussion point so that people in the comments section feel like I've got something to add to this conversation.
Solicit some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Elicit that feedback so that people feel confident in wanting to interact with you. If it's all telling, then people are just likely going to read it. And you know what I do is I might read it and I'll be like, oh, okay. And then I move on to the next thing. I don't even think about, commenting if you shared it with me. So now you have no idea, that I found, your post interesting or useful. And so, where possible, and don't get me wrong, there are times where just the information matters. Matt does that sometimes. He's talking about PMI. He's trying to share, a program or something. But even then, Matt always leaves an open for people to engage. I try to do the same.
I want the engagement. And another point, Jose, speaking about know your network. If you're an academic, speak as an academic would. I know my network, and I know a lot of men don't read a lot of big words. So I try to use 8th grade reading level because that's how I read. So I know my network. Most are smarter than me, but I still try to use words on an 8th grade reading level because that's who I am.
Yeah, wait a minute. 8th grade? I speak on a 6th grade level, man.
Oh, good Lord. I'm going to get you guys matching T-shirts that say Sergeant Major retired. Please use small words.
Small words.
Please.
All right, guys. Time to wrap it up. On behalf of Recruit Military and the folks that joined us today, thank you very much to retired Sergeants Major Matt Quick and Jose Velasquez for being on the show, guys. Always a pleasure. Always fun to have you guys on.
Thanks, Lucas.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. We appreciate it.
And for all you people out there in internet land, if you haven't already done so, do yourself a solid. Use the link, rmvets.com/live. There, that link will take you to the website where you'll find hundreds of thousands of job opportunities with tens of thousands of employers around the world and around the corner. Recruit Military is on a mission to help veterans, transitioning service members, and mill spouses find meaningful employment opportunities. This has been Jose Velasquez, Matt Quick, and myself, Lucas Connolly, for Recruit Military Live. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.